right thing. Easy for you to say when you're not the one doing it. She stepped out of the way as her boss Amelia's personal assistant Hannah came past in a gush of air, doing the rounds to remind everyone about tomorrow's team meeting. For once, Holly felt free to safely ignore Hannah's reminder. Remember, final farewell drinks at 5 p.m. today. I know your big bash was a few weeks ago, but we had to organize a little something to send you off. I'll be there, don't worry. She'd already arranged to meet Dylan and Cleo, Miles and Darcy at a cocktail bar in Chelsea after her farewell drinks. She needed the moral support from her friends, who would remain a constant when she left her colleagues behind. Holly had met Darcy quite by chance last year in the Flower District, when she'd broken down and cried over the loss of her friend Sarah a few days before Christmas. She'd only been a visitor to New York back then, deciding whether or not she wanted to relocate from the West Coast, but her emotional state had caused Darcy to take pity on her, buy her a coffee, and rescue her from possibly the worst accommodation known to man by offering her a room at the Inglenook Inn. Their friendship had lasted and soon expanded to include the others. That was the Christmas Darcy got together with Miles, who had also become a friend, and soon after, Darcy had introduced Holly to Cleo and Dylan, and they'd all been good friends ever since. "Come on," said Daisy. "Help me put up the rest of the decorations. It'll take your mind off everything else, and when this place resembles Santa's grotto, you'll be happy to turn your back on it." Glad of a reprieve from analyzing her decision, and with her duties and tasks already distributed amongst the team so that her last day was relatively clear, she and Daisy got to decorating the rest of the office. They strung a long line of lights along one wall, put holly and ivy on the edges of picture frames, arranged several empty wrapped boxes to represent gifts beneath the Christmas tree, and then moved on to decorating workstations. Many desks were hydraulic, so staff could stand or sit and save their bodies from the perils of desk work. They had kitchen supplies and refreshments on hand. There was even a small games room down the corridor with a ping-pong table and a pool table, and big squishy chairs to sink into. Holly guessed she'd have to get used to far fewer luxuries. From now on, it would be a case of having her laptop perched on the bed in her studio apartment, or else finding one of the many cafes and settling herself into a quiet space to work. She handed smaller sets of fairy lights to the people sitting in cubicles. "Can't you decorate mine, Hall, given you're unemployed as of this afternoon?" Jason crooned from where he was standing at his monitor. In charge of communications, he thought he could lord it over every faculty of the magazine. Holly had only been working with him since mid-January, but it hadn't taken her long to wish he'd get a transfer in the opposite direction. "It's your job. Everyone is doing their own workspace." She managed to plaster a big smile on her face despite her inner fury. "And I'm not unemployed. I'll be freelance." Potato, potato. His eyes didn't leave the screen. Holly wondered what decoration she could lob at his head, although she didn't want to get charged for assault and battery on her last day. Maybe, instead, she'd spend more time around him this afternoon, because it would be the biggest encouragement to walk out that door with a feeling of relief and know her decision was the best one. Pine cones! Daisy was next to Jason's workstation and left a supply of half a dozen of the frost-coated brown pieces. "What am I supposed to do with those?" he asked. "I could think of a few things," Holly muttered as they giggled their way over to the box of garlands ready to hand a few of those out. Within an hour, the decorations had been distributed and plenty of workers had got into the spirit readily enough. "What's happening with your apartment?" Daisy shoved the empty decoration boxes back into the storeroom. Holly wondered whether her coworker was after that as well as her job, and for some reason it made her want to laugh out loud. "I'm keeping my apartment." "It's in Greenwich Village, right?" Daisy flipped her blonde ponytail over her shoulder and shut the door to the storeroom. "I moved to West Chelsea, downsized." As a 20-something, not even nudging 30, Daisy was still living in her parents' palatial residence on the Upper West Side, so had no idea how crippling Manhattan rents could be. "I'm in a studio now, but it's fine. I didn't need a 2-bedroom." She'd sacrificed the gorgeous apartment on a tree-lined street, but every time she mourned for her light-filled, all-mod cons spacious apartment in a classic brownstone, she reminded herself why she'd had to give it up. They headed towards the kitchen area.